now that we know how to split our middle term when we only have 3 terms, I'm going to look at a couple different examples that the only thing that's really changing is their signs. How we can read the problem that is given to help us factor our quadratic. On this guy, so just like the example you saw on the previous video, we're looking for factors of 15 that'll combine or add together to equal 8. So the factors of 15, we got 3 and 5, 1 and 15. Okay? 3 times 5 is 15, 1 times 15 is 15. If we were to add them together, I get 8 and 16. So we're going to go ahead and use our 3 and our 5, and then we're going to go through and we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm going to split that 8x into 5x plus 3x, and then I'm just going to group. Group my first 2 terms, my last 2 terms. My first 2 terms, I have an x in common, which leaves me with x plus 5. My second set, I have a 3 in common, which leaves me with an x plus 5. So together, we have that x plus 5, and it's being multiplied to x plus 3. Check, factored. Okay? So what we notice here is because this is a positive 15, my signs have to be the same. To be able to get a positive number, you have to multiply a positive to a positive or a negative to a negative. So here we're multiplying positive 5 and a positive 3. So if we look at this second example, the only thing that changes is now I have a negative. This positive on the 15 tells me my factors have to have the same sign. Once I know that they have to have the same sign, I jump over here and it tells me that both of my factors have to be negative. So when I factor 15, I'm still looking at 5 and 3, but instead of them being positive, like our first example, here they have to be negative. So again, I can make the split, x squared minus 5x minus 3x plus 15, and then I group. Here we have an x in common, and I'm left with x minus 5. Here, because of this negative, remember, I have a negative 3 in common, which leaves me with x minus 5. Together, we have our x minus 5, and I'm left with x minus 3. Boom, factored. Love it. Notice, signs are the same, both negative. Negative and negative. Signs are the same, both positive. Positive and positive. Those clues in our problems are super, super helpful. Okay, so what changes over here is instead of having a positive 15, we have a negative 15. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take that into play as we factor. The only way to get a negative 15 is to multiply a positive number to a negative number. So this negative now tells me my factors have to have opposite signs. Okay, opposite signs. One is positive, one is negative. And they're going to combine to equal a negative 2. So our factors are for 15, we're still going to use 3 and 5. 3 times 5 is 15, but now I somehow have to equal a negative 2 by adding these two numbers together. The only way I'm going to get a negative 2 is if my 5 is negative. Negative 5 and a positive 3. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. Okay? So, once we see that my signs are opposite, this sign tells me the larger factor. This says the larger factor is negative, which is why my 5 is negative. So now I'm going to go ahead and factor by grouping. So I have x squared plus 3x minus 5x minus 15, and I group. Here we have an x in common, so I get x plus 3. Here I get a negative 5. Again, once I factor that out, I get an x plus 3. So together, x plus 3 times x minus 5. Awesome! Okay, these signs tell us so much, we got to follow the signs. This guy is very similar to this one. This negative 15 tells me we've got opposite signs. This time it tells me my larger sign has to be positive. With 15 in this example, we're still going to use 5 and 3. We're going to have a positive 5 and a negative 3. Opposite signs, larger one's positive. So x squared plus 5x minus 3x minus 15. It doesn't matter what order I put the 5 and the 3 in, our factors will be the same. So don't worry about the order. Order doesn't matter. I just group. X squared and 5x have an x in common, which leaves me with x plus 5. Negative 3x and negative 15 have a negative 3 in common, which leaves me with an x plus 5. So together, we have an x plus 5, and I'm left with an x minus 3. Boom. Foil it back together, we go back to our original. But here, we're paying attention to those signs. We'll talk about them more in the next video.